Well, welcome. This is Brett Jennings with the Expert on Fire series specific to agent as investor. Super excited here today to be having a great conversation with Melanie Giacomo here at Real Estate Experts. She not only is a great real estate expert, but she also is taking the journey from agent to investor. And that's one of the things that we find is, so many people get into real estate, and I would say it's probably the majority of people, and they have an ambition or desire to get into the game of real estate and either let the limitations of an idea that they don't have the money, they don't have the time, or home prices here are too expensive to ever get in the game. But we're going to have a great conversation today with Melanie, who, like the tortoise and the hare, over time has just been very consistent and persistent and got in the game and is really winning now. So welcome to the show, Melanie.
Thank you. I'm excited. Thanks for having me. This is one of my favorite things to talk about, so let's do it.
Awesome. Well, everyone's got a different story of how they either got into real estate or how they got into real estate investing. So let's start there. Like, take us back in time. Are you local here to the Bay Area? And if so, how did you get into real estate?
Yeah, local to the Bay Area, born and raised. So I've been here my whole life. I got into real estate, I don't want to say on accident, but kind of on accident. I purchased my first vacation home with my parents as just like a place that we loved on a lake that was, 2 hours away. And we were like, wait, this is so cool. Let's buy a vacation home. Bought a vacation home there. And this was before I was even licensed in real estate. So hadn't been doing any real estate or anything. And then we put it up on Airbnb and I was like, wait a minute, this thing is like making mortgage payments and doing its thing. And there's a lot of opportunity in real estate. Why am I not selling real estate? Why am I not in it? So I probably a few years later, actually, it took me a while to even get licensed, but I got my real estate license a few years later and then just started helping other people buy and sell homes in the Bay Area, which kind of led me into then investing. So yeah.
Oh, so you actually, for most agents who we have this conversation with, they start out as an agent and they get into, real estate, and then they start making money and then start investing. You actually, instead of going agent to investor, you went investor to agent.
Yeah, kind of backwards.
flip the script, but nonetheless, it's a great way to start. So what was it that ultimately, so then you got your license a few years after you bought that, and
Yeah.
you guys started Airbnb, this one property that you own with your family. What led you to begin investing?
Yeah, I think seeing how powerful real estate could be for not only long-term wealth building, but also appreciation, but then also cash flow for me was huge. I just started seeing that, this one house, one booking from an Airbnb guest was paying a mortgage payment. So, it was pretty eye-opening. I'm like, wait a minute, I can keep renting this thing month over month, week over week, and create cash flow at the same time. So I think seeing that really opened my eyes to the opportunity of investing.
Okay.
So I became really interested in strategies like house hacking, using ADUs, the short-term rentals. And I really enjoyed the idea of creating the income. Wasn't just tied to my commission, right? So I think that it just made me really excited, and I loved the process of doing all of that. I liked going out there and setting it up and, making it super cute and cozy, and then having guest interactions and just seeing how much cash flow could come in really opened my eyes. And so that led me into it.
That's awesome. Well, let's double click on that, because I'm sure people are curious, like, okay, what was this first one like? Was it a multi-million-dollar property? Is that what it takes to get into the game? Or is it someplace way out of state? But this one was semi-local, right here in California?
Yeah, so it was about 2 hours away on Lake Tulloch. It's in this little town called Copperopolis. I didn't even know of the area until one of our friends brought us out there. We were out on the lake and we were like, wow, this lake's beautiful. This is such a nice place. I'm like, what are homes in this area going for? I looked it up. We ended up buying that home for $550. So it was a great deal then. We've definitely created a lot of appreciation since that purchase. But, I took a loan on that and we dove in, and that at the time I wasn't even thinking of investing. I was just like, wait, we can have a vacation home on water for under $1 million in California. That's crazy. And it's just
That's
2 hours
awesome.
away.
Well, let's, if you can, let's pull that up. Let's take a look at it and see kind of so you bought this 11 years ago,
Yeah.
kind of with your parents, and then a few years into it, you guys eventually started Airbnb-ing it. And what was the process? Yeah, cool. Let's check this out.
Yeah.
And if you could, yeah, take us through the pictures a little bit here.
Yeah.
So this is on Lake Tulloch.
Yeah.
And
In
this is which
Copperopolis.
Copperopolis, which you get
Yeah.
for 550. Cool. Let's take a look inside. So
Yeah, so here's the kind of living space with this wood burning stove, which everyone loves that. It makes it a really unique property. And I think what I loved about the home when we bought it was that it wasn't this like grand mansion. It was like literally a lake house cabin feel on the water. And I think that that's super important when doing these short-term, vacation rental investing, is to make it feel kind of like a cozy vacation home. For me, most of my guests, they don't want these like McMansions that don't feel, like a getaway with family. That's what I hear a lot in my reviews, is that, they love being there and being with family, and it just feels cozy and comfortable, and that they can have a good time out on the water and in this cabin type feeling home. So, nothing super fancy, but this, it does great and people love it. So what's really cool about this one is the house. This is the back of the house here, on the water. So we do have a dock and a place where you can, park your boat and 2 jet skis. And this is a private cove, so people can go back there and just chill, float in the water in a life jacket and just hang out. This house is really cool because we actually use it as 2 listings. So I have 2 separate listings on Airbnb for this one home, which brings a lot of versatility, right? So this upper half of the house has 2 bedrooms, 2 bathrooms, the kitchen, and the bottom half has a bunk room. So you would take these stairs to get down to the bunk room, but you can only get to the bunk room by coming outside and getting down into that room. So you can rent either the top half of the house for 4 people with the 2 bedrooms, or you can rent the entire home, which sleeps 10 people. That bunk room has a bunch of beds, another bathroom, laundry, everything down there. So it's super versatile. So we have people coming, especially in the slower seasons, maybe they're not, hanging out in the water. It's a little bit colder. We rent that upper half. People are going to the snow, so it's not too far away. But we rent the upper half to just 4 people, or we rent the whole thing to 10. So this is amazing. It's a really cool opportunity to be able to have that flexibility where, it's harder to book a last minute booking with 10 guests. It's much easier for just 4 people, or 2 people even will just come. It's a cool.
Curiously, like peak season, what does that rent for a week?
I would say usually it's hard to say because our prices are always fluctuating. It depends on, holiday weekend or anything like that. But I would say we're at minimum $600 to $700 a night So, and it goes up from there. Few $1,000s a night, just depending on time of the season, weekend, if there's a holiday, 4th of July, those kinds of things, that it brings in a lot. And then this is the bunk room. So you see you've got a big bed here, and then you've got double bunks. There's more other bunks on the other side too. So it's able to sleep a lot. Total of 10 guests.
Cool.
Yeah.
Cool. That kind of leads me. So Airbnb was your first path into investing, and that is kind of your core strategy at this point, right?
Yeah.
And it kind of leads me into one of the questions I had in getting prepared for this was, what does make an Airbnb successful? You started, and I picked up on one thing that you shared was like, I'll call it like a property to market match. You're like in Lake Tulloch, people are coming up there for kind of a down home feel. They're not looking for like the McMansion. What else in your mind are some of the criteria that, like, when you're looking for, that would make a successful Airbnb?
Yeah, I think the easiest way to say it, and I say this to people all the time because don't overthink it, is cute, comfy, and clean. Honestly, when of course, all of the other things are super important and they matter too. Location, photos, a design, your communication with your guests, pricing strategy, all those things are also super important. But I really think that what it comes down to have a super successful Airbnb is cute, comfy, and clean. People they see cute on photos and they're like, we're booking it. That's so cute. I want to stay in that property. If they're in it and it's comfy, it feels like home. The beds are comfortable. You're giving, good linens, and they just feel like this is a place I want to hang out. They love that, and then clean is huge. You always want to have a really clean property, and so I think that those 3 things are really what bring the guests in and then keep them coming back. They're going to remember how a place made them feel, the memories that they made there, and, with their friends and family, and, how the host, you or me, have helped create that experience for them.
Awesome. Awesome. Got it. So cute,
Comfy and clean.
cozy, and clean.
Yeah.
Cute, comfy, and clean.
Yeah.
Cute, comfy, and clean. Cute, cozy, and clean. Awesome. So that was kind of your takeaway. And then how long after you started Airbnb that property did you muster? I mean, I imagine it took some courage because, like, the first one, you have partners, right, in it with your
Yeah.
parents, and you guys bought it for other reasons. And now all of a sudden we just got upside accidentally. But now
Yeah.
you're going to go, like, really become an investor in it. I'm going to
Yeah.
buy a property for the specific purpose of renting it out. What was your next property that you purchased? And because I mean, you've grown now from one to nine in the
Yeah.
next 8 years or 9 years.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, what was it like that? Do you remember, like, going to make that decision? Did you, because even I'm an experienced investor myself. And when I enter into a new type of property, that I haven't, a category, if you will, if I haven't invested before, even though I'm talking to people and they tell me how to do it, I'm kind of a little freaked out. Like,
Yeah.
is this going to work? Like, did you have any of that from when you went to go take the leap into the second one? And what was the second one?
Yeah, of course I had that. But yeah, for sure. And I did the second one by myself. So I didn't have like the help or the support to like lean on.
Yeah.
So it was scary, but it was a completely different purchase. I mean, it was a much smaller, much cheaper. And I just was like, I'm going to do the safe thing. And I'm just going to buy a 2-bedroom, 2-bathroom condo that I can do long-term rental. I'm just going to get somebody in there and it'll pay my mortgage. And maybe I can make a few $100 on top of that. So I bought a little condo in Las Vegas. It's probably 5 minutes from the Strip. And I bought that by myself. I bought it honestly sight unseen. I sent my realtor out. He did, yeah, he did, which I've pretty much bought all of mine like that now. But he did, a little video tour with me, and I trusted my agent. So I think that was super important. And I was like, well, Vegas is only an hour flight. Like, it's close enough if I have to get out there. It's not that big of a deal.
Smart.
Yeah. So I think that helped me feel a little bit better. So that was honestly, what I feel like my first investment property was by myself, was this little condo that I did long-term renting. And I did that for probably 2 years before I ended up having some issues with my tenant, to be honest with you. And I kicked him out, and then I ended up furnishing the place and turning it into a midterm rental. So that was that's kind of the story with that one. And
okay, let's double click on that. And so
Yep.
that one is if it is an Airbnb, I don't know if you can pull it up just so we can take a quick look at it. Okay, so lessons learned from this one. You were excited about what you created at Lake Tulloch. You're like, hey, I want to do this, but I want to kind of dip my toes in the water. So your price point was low to protect your downside a little bit. Sounds like it was semi-local. It's not like, I mean, I guess it is 1,000 miles away to Vegas or something, but maybe not 1,000. But a quick flight, right? A couple $100 or $200 on Southwest, and you're there in a couple hours to solve problems or whatever. And then the third thing that you did to kind of hedge your risk on the downside was, did you have ambitions of making this a midterm or short-term rental, or you were okay? So your original plan was, hey, if the rent will cover the mortgage, I know there's rental demand in Vegas, this thing will be a pretty safe bet. And you were getting a reasonable deal on it, I'm assuming.
Yeah, I got a good deal on it. I bought it probably right when COVID started. So people were really scared. Like, buyers were like, absolutely not, I'm not buying anything. It had terrible listing photos, like this big. But that's my favorite thing. When a listing just doesn't present well, I'm like, I know I can get a good deal. So I got a good deal.
Yeah.
I trusted my agent. And yeah, I mean, at that time, Vegas was starting to grow. All the sports teams were heading out there. It's just changed so much even since I bought it then. So I knew that there would be demand for rents. So that's kind of where I started there. And I can share actually what the listing looks like. But at the time, my plan was just a long-term listing. So there was no thought behind doing anything. They do have really strict rules about short-term renting out there. So, you're not allowed to do short-term, but the get around there is anything that's over 30 days stay. It's also in a condo complex. So they have the same kind of rules, nothing under 30 days. So once you hit that 30-day mark, you no longer have to do the short-term rental rules, regulations, or fees. So I love that too. So let me share my screen. I'll show you what that one looks like. And honestly, this one, same thing. It's cute, clean, and comfy. So look at this.
I see you got 4.9 stars there on your review, so that's
Yeah,
good.
pretty good.
Okay, click into some of those interior photos if we could, just they're a little small. Okay, cool.
Yeah, it's
So
cute little.
simple, cozy, cute, clean.
Yeah, nothing
Yeah.
crazy, just, cute little
Yeah.
space, 2 bed, 2 bath. It's close to the strip, so, you know,
Okay.
pretty basic.
Awesome.
Hmm.
Yeah. Cool. So this one too, interestingly, uh, accidental Airbnb almost.
Yeah,
Like the first one was like we bought it as a vacation home for ourselves,
yeah,
started just get and realized what the opportunity was. This one you bought it as a long-term rental, became an accidental Airbnb, but you're doing midterm stay because of the constraints
correct. Yeah,
for Airbnb, both in Vegas and with the condos.
yep,
Awesome. Um, and you hedged your downside there by buying a low price point, semi-local, and that's awesome. Um, let's talk about like if someone wants to pursue Airbnb, and you've done a great job. You've owned 9 now, is it?
yeah,
Properties total?
yeah.
And how curiously, how many different states?
Oh, okay. Let's see. I have California, Hawaii, Tennessee, Missouri, and Nevada. So I'm in 5 states at the moment.
Okay, cool. And where, how did you select those markets, or how would you advise someone to select markets and or price points? Like, because some people might be thinking, well, shoot, price points, if I want to invest in California, might be $1 million for
Yeah.
a property. Do you find there's like a sweet spot for property purchase price as it relates to Airbnb rental rates that make it a little easier or more profitable, and like some general rules of thumb?
Yeah. Yeah, I think that that's definitely going to be market specific as far as price point goes.
Yeah.
And also, I think that it's going to be, what your tolerance is as well. I think that also has a lot to do with what you can afford. Like, I could never afford to just purchase $1 million home as my first purchase, a million plus in the Bay Area, or in California. Like that was not happening for me. So I think advice would be speak to a lender first to see what you can qualify for, and get a good lender. Get a lender my lender's licensed in 50 states. So I'm like, I use her for everything.
Mm,
She knows all my stuff. She's got it all, on hand. And we're super creative with financing, right? So I can't always get conventional financing. So investor loans, DSCR loans, anything that's going to be able to get me to that place, that's what I do, right? It's strategy to get me into the home. If you have to
mhm.
refinance into something better a little bit later, that's fine. But I think for me, strategy was, get my loan and my price point figured out first, and then from there you can search markets, because let's say you're only qualified
Okay.
for 400. I'm not going to be buying anywhere in the Bay Area for 400. It's just not happening. So I think that
Yeah.
was step one for me.
So first things then is really getting your financing dialed in. And then it sounds like once you can determine how much you can afford, that once we figured that out, then we start looking at what markets. So curiously, what types of properties and markets have worked best for you, or how did you decide what markets, what led you into those different markets?
Yeah, I mean, first finding the market and deciding was a lot of research. I did a ton of research, listening to a ton of podcasts and just figuring out. I mean, I had to learn too at some point, right?
Yeah.
So I think for me, it was just doing a ton of research and a ton of learning, and then
Any
looking
good
at
any
market.
any good podcasts out there that like people, if they want to pursue Airbnb here, would take a listen to?
I mean, Bigger Pockets is always an amazing one to listen to. There's obviously specifics. I would say the Short Term Shop has a really great podcast to listen to, and they focus mainly on short-term rental markets. So I
Hmm.
would say that's a really good one. I listened to that one for a long time before I took the deep dive, but
Okay.
they helped me a lot, kind of determine markets that I thought would be, beneficial for me. But I would say for me, the best markets have been drivable vacation markets. So, and vacation markets that have been vacation destination markets for decades. And the reason that I say that is because the rules and regulations are already put in place. I'm not afraid of them changing those. They've been there for
Mm,
decades, and those markets rely on the tourism. So they're relying on us bringing the tourists there. And then once those tourists are there, obviously we as homeowners are paying a little bit in taxes and things like that to the area. But also all of
hmm.
those tourists are paying for everything that they're doing in those markets, right? They're going out and spending money. So those markets are the markets that I've seen have been killing it. They do amazing. And the reason I say drivable is because I also own in Hawaii, but to get to it's an island. You have to fly. So it's not as
Yeah.
easily dependable. Yeah. So like something happens, people can't get on a flight or they have to cancel, it's harder to rebook those things and they're harder to make last minute bookings. So I've noticed that drivable vacation rental markets are my like sweet spot. They're my favorite because you'll get last minute bookings. You'll get people who will come and they just come back all the time. They're like, we loved that. We're coming again next year. We loved it. We're coming again in the summer. So for me, those have been my markets. And then as far as the house goes, I personally, my sweet spot, I love a little cabin. I like something that sleeps 2 to 4, maybe 5 or 6 guests. But I think, of course, you can do the grand big homes. Those are incredible. They bring in a lot of money, but they are very expensive as well. They create bigger problems. Maybe you're having parties and things like that. So they're just sometimes a little bit more work. So for me, do I own both? Yes. But for me, I like the smaller little cabins, the cute, cozy, comfy, clean ones. I like it because they're easier to book. I get last minute bookings. I can fill a Wednesday night. I can get people coming, I'm literally booked all the time. It's just easier to fill. And it's just, usually it's smaller families. They're easier to talk to. I don't have, big parties going on or anything that I really have to like regulate. So I like that.
Okay, awesome. Well, I can speak to that myself. Owning an Airbnb that sleeps up to 14, we have had parties have been a problem. So a little smaller units are more rental demand and a little more manageable. Cool.
Yeah. The way I get around parties in the bigger properties are a minimum night stay. I don't ever allow a one night stay in these bigger properties because you're basically opening yourself up for a party. So 2 to 3 night minimum is what I prefer. Usually on the bigger properties, a 3 night because most people don't want to pay for 3 nights to have one party. But the nice thing is these smaller properties, I allow a 1 night booking. I'll allow it because they're not going to have a party. They're tiny. They're not going to have a bunch of people there. So that's what I like about these small ones. I can fill my calendars a random Thursday, a random Wednesday. I can get them booked just 1 night. So
cool. So for some people, getting started in Airbnb, they're going to get educated, they're going to get financed. Like what do you think the biggest mistakes people make starting out are?
Yeah, I think the biggest mistake is probably not knowing your market. I have seen so many people have come to me and said, I just bought a house in wherever it is. And then they come to Tahoe, let's say, and they come to me and they're like, we want your help. We want your advice. How do we do this whole Airbnb thing? And I'm like, oof, did you look into it? Because a lot of those areas don't allow short-term rentals. And then they haven't really run their numbers and it doesn't make sense to transition into a long-term rental that it doesn't cover their expenses. So I would say that that's probably a really big hurdle that people don't realize. And they'll say to me, yeah, but they're all over, they're on Airbnb everywhere. Everyone's doing it. I'm like, probably not legally. And that's like the biggest concern. I don't want that to happen. I've had a call when my tenant I had a long-term rental and he started doing Airbnb in my place. I got a call from the city and they were like, you can't be Airbnb in your place. I'm like, I'm not. It was them. So the cities are regulating. Yeah. So the city's regulating it. So I think that that's one of the biggest hurdles. Yeah. And then I think
so don't just go buy a place in a vacation destination you love and expect that you'll be able to Airbnb it and expect that it's going to make money because it may or may not be a good market.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think I interestingly enough, I kind of became an accidental Airbnb owner as well because I bought a family property. Fortunately, it was in a reasonably good market, but I did have some challenges along the way. The one tool, I don't know if you've used this one or what tools would you might recommend, but one is airdna.co. Okay. Yeah, that one was really good because people can evaluate, right, the market and it'll give them a scoring system on the market. You can see like the top 10 Airbnb rentals in that market. How are they positioned? Do they have hot tubs? What kind of features or amenities do they have? And that was also a good way that I found to find a good property manager because let's talk about the management side, like self-manage or third party, because that becomes also a make or break in your success. What are your thoughts on that?
I mean, if you ask me personally, I would say self-manage. I self-manage all of my properties, all 9 of them from 5 different states. I do it all. But I think that that's dependent on the person and what your goals are. I think if your goal is as much cash flow as possible, then people can do it themselves.
Mhm.
But I think that it comes with, its downfalls because I'm always busy. I'm always working. I'm running all of them. Nobody else is. Should I have somebody help me out with that? Probably at this point, yes. But I think that you can go either route. So if you self-manage, you basically are guaranteed, the most income from that, because you're not paying anybody. You're not paying a property manager. But if you want to be paying a property manager, you can pay a property manager. Typically, it's 20% for all of that. But then, your hands off. So I think that they definitely have their pros and cons, and it's what's most important to you. Is your time more important, or is it, getting as much income out of it as possible? Although there's two different sides of that. Are you going to be really good at managing it yourself? Because do you have the time? Do you know the systems? Can you do it all to create the most amount of income? Or do you want to hand it to somebody who's a professional, knows what they're doing, and you are willing to give up a little bit of that to create probably, better experiences and less problems on your hands, less time of managing them yourself. So,
Yeah.
do them yourself. I love it. It's been I love it. It's like amazing, but I think it's just dependent on the person and what they prefer.
Well, let's double click on that, because for you've taken the time and you've gradually built this, and I'm sure as you only had 1 or 2 Airbnbs, it only took so much time. But now that you have a portfolio of 9, it's like that's a lot of probably bookings happen every weekend. There's, let's see, 9 properties, people going in on a busy weekend. You probably have 50 guests or more, right? Floating in and out of all these places. And invariably, something I'm sure happens where a shower doesn't work or somebody doesn't have towels. Or,
this morning.
So, okay. Well, let's talk about the time in, money out equation. So 9 properties now, Airbnb. And this kind of leads into the question of why do this or why not do this. So there's, what does the economic opportunity look like now with you as you own 9 Airbnbs? How much time do you put in and how much money comes out? Like, or what was your best year with the portfolio so far?
Yeah, I would say my best year was probably last year, bringing in around 300K. But obviously, I think that that's because I continue to grow. I continue to add properties to my portfolio. I think do I do this? Do I not do this? Is it worth it? Is it not worth it? For me, it's been completely worth it because I think that this is my future. This is my retirement. I mean, I'm self-employed, so I don't have, a 401k or something that I feel comfortable retiring on as far as like an account that's building money. Me, I have properties. They're building me cash flow every month, every week, every year, and appreciation. So those are the things that I'm like, I don't want to be working till I'm in my 60s. I want to retire and enjoy life. And I think that I'm going to be able to do that with these properties. So for me, it's created that financial freedom that I feel comfortable. I think in a downturn, slower real estate market, COVID, for instance, was super scary for me. Being in real estate and relying on just commissions was like, oh my gosh, what if we can't have any sales? We can't show homes. How do we sell homes? So I think that was super scary, but having the properties, being able to work those and having that consistent income without maybe making commission, it made me feel, safe, secure. So for me, I think that it's totally worth it. It's helped me get where I am, and now I'm at the point where, real estate, the sales, the commission is helping me fund the down payments for the next property. And those properties are bringing in the income consistently all the time. So for me, it's been amazing. I think should I not do this side of that is the commitment that it takes. So I'm, on my phone all the time. I had problems this morning. Electricity was down at one of the properties in Tennessee. And I'm like, shoot, I'm scrambling, trying to get somebody out there. So, you're constantly working. The funniest thing that people ever say to me is like, oh my gosh, you own Airbnbs. This is such passive income. I'm like, this is not passive income. It is a full-time job. Yeah. So,
got it. So 9 properties, last year about 300K and about 30 hours a week. So it's relatively full time,
Yeah,
and okay. So it's interesting because to think about the equation, and I'll just lend kind of my experience and perspective because first of all, I want to comment on your virtuous cycle that you've created. Like you were investor to agent, right? So you became kind of the accidental agent almost. And then now that you have built the Airbnb portfolio, you're still active and very successful as an agent here in Silicon Valley. And now the virtuous cycle is you're now making money with commissions that enable you to buy more properties for your portfolio. So that's genius. And I think that everyone, when we talk about being an agent and becoming an investor, being an agent is your ground game. That's how you make your income and your trading time for money. And then your investor is like your air game. That's how you're building passive income and wealth. So you've built a portfolio. I think as we talked before the call, you're saying kind of blended average, these homes are between 350, 450. You might have a more expensive one like you bought with your folks, not to lack, but seeing at those properties on average in the United States, if they're outside California, are going up about 4% per year. You've probably got over 100K in appreciation happening too, I would think.
Yeah, for sure.
So that's pretty awesome. 300K in income and 100K in equity build up at least every year. So you're well on your way. Anything that and double click last point on self-managed versus professional management.
Mm-hmm.
I self-managed for my first 5 years until Thanksgiving. One day we were sitting down for dinner and we got a phone call and we're here at the house in Tahoe and somebody turned on the faucet and it broke off and it's shooting water everywhere. We were just like putting the turkey on the kitchen table.
Always.
And I think, and I think that was that time. My wife was like, "No, we're not managing this anymore." And it did take a couple property managers to find a really good one. I could say they do make or break it if you do have professional management. The good one now is probably making us as much as when we self-managed, just because they're so good in that market. So a great one is worth their 20% or 25% in spades. But you are making it work very well. I saw some of your reviews. You're getting like 4.9 on your reviews on your property. So you're obviously doing something right. Other questions I might have here are, was there any big mistake or deal that you did that you would do differently?
Yeah, I think maybe spending too much time overanalyzing some of my deals and not trusting myself enough has definitely, I've missed out on some opportunity just by doing that, overanalyzing. If I had to pick one deal that I would do differently, it would probably be the very first one that I bought, that vacation home. I love it, but it's not the market that I would normally choose. It's weird to say because I'm like, well, it brought me everything, right? It helped open my eyes to everything. But I think analyzing, if I were to go back, I'd be like, probably not that one. We do use it more for.
And why not? Curiously.
I think it's much slower seasonality than I like. So it's slower in winter seasons. I like to be mostly booked for every season. There are some places where it's a little slower, January, February, but the other months are so heavily booked that it really outweighs some of that. So I think probably that one would, it's on a lake. So in the winter months, people don't necessarily want to be in the water. So I think that one is probably the one that I would change, especially given where its price is now. That one's probably around $1 million so the numbers wouldn't make as much sense now as they did when we bought it for, half the
For sure.
So.
Got it. What else? So how overall, how has investing changed your financial life?
I think, it's just changed how I think about income and my future. I think it's made me feel much more financially stable, knowing that I have additional income. If real estate goes down, if real estate slows down, if I don't have a commission check for a couple of months, I'm like, well, I still have income coming in. I can still pay all of my bills. And honestly, every property that I have pays for itself and then brings me a return. So I don't feel like I have bills. So it's nice,
I have heard it said one time, I have checks and I have bills. And as long as I have more checks coming in than I have bills, it's all good.
Yeah, exactly. So I think financial flexibility overall, it's given me, it's also given me confidence just because I realized that wealth building through real estate is actually possible when you're consistent, you take action, you are continuing to grow and put yourself, around like-minded people. And it's helped my real estate as well, because I think
that was my next question. How has it made you a better agent?
Yeah, I think it's made me just a stronger advisor. I think it's helped me be more confident when I talk to clients about homes, investing, and owning real estate, and how, you can create long-term wealth and how they can do the same thing I'm doing. And I think, clients love hearing that I personally own multiple Airbnbs, investment properties. I think it builds trust with them. They know that, I'm actually actively doing this myself. I'm not like, buy a house, they're like, oh, she practices what she preaches. So I think that that's, helped me a lot, and it's helped my clients really trust me.
Awesome. Thank you so much for spending your time and sharing with us. A couple last questions in closing. If someone's watching or listening and they want to get in the game of investing, what's one action that they could take to start them down that track?
I would say talk with your lender, run your numbers,
Hmm.
and start analyzing deals. So get an understanding for what you can do, because I think that so many people think that it's unachievable, and it's 100% achievable. I never thought I would be in this position ever. And so I think that, getting started and starting with one is really it builds confidence for you to be able to get to number two. So I think get with a lender, see what you're able to do, because you can buy anywhere, right? You don't have to be
Oh,
buying where you live. And then, I manage from other states, so have your systems in place. So I think that's what scares people. So I would say start with talking to a lender. And then once you've got that, just start analyzing deals. Talk to a lender and analyze deals. You'll get the confidence to.
analyze deals. And then when it comes to picking markets, is there any resource, a podcast or anything, or resources that you like to look at or suggest they look at?
Yeah, I mean, I think AirDNA is huge. I think that's massive. I think listening to the podcasts are huge. And then honestly, from there, if you have an interest in a market, you can also there's a place you like to vacation, you've been going for a long time, start researching that area. I mean, ChatGPT is amazing, but I would say Google how many visitors are coming to this area, Google occupancy rates, what's the most, attractive thing about that place that you're going to, and just start doing a ton of research on that. The other thing you can do is go to Airbnb, see how many listings there are in that area, see what kind of listings there are. Can you outperform someone else? Oh my gosh, this property is doing this, but I know that I could do better just by improving. Maybe it's just its appearance, or offering, I have other things that I offer for my clients too. A late checkout brings me an extra $50. There's other things that you can do to add on to these experiences for people that will also bring you more income. So, I think that doing your research is huge. And I also go to the city websites to figure out rules and regulations. So I would say just a lot of research.
Okay. Awesome. And if people want to follow you and kind of what you're doing, I know you're probably on a social channel or two, if they want to kind of spy on the cool things that you're doing, both in just real estate in the Bay Area and Airbnb, where would they find you?
I'm on Instagram and Facebook. You can pretty much just search my name, first and last name, and it will come up. I post a ton of video, a lot about Airbnb investing and a lot about purchasing homes. So it's a great space. And I also do one-on-one consultations with people. So if anybody just has questions and wants to learn about it, we can set up a Zoom just like we're doing here. And we just kind of go through things. We can either analyze their property or analyze maybe a market that they're interested in, or just ask questions and go back and forth.
Awesome. So if you're looking to get into Airbnb and you have a question, Melanie's your gal. Very last question. What is one piece of advice you'd give your younger self?
Yeah, I would say stop waiting to be fully ready. Once
Mhm.
I think that kind of holds people back a lot. And especially it held me back a lot. And I think for me, stop holding back and being so shy. I think that took me a really long time to just kind of get over it and just put yourself in a room with like-minded people and learn and grow from those people and just have conversations with those people. I mean, it's crazy how much your world can change just by stop waiting, stop holding yourself back, and stop being behind somebody and just go out there and do it. And I think that that's changed a lot of things for me.
Well, awesome. Melanie, you are a great agent, you're a great human, and a great investor and an inspiration for both men and women, I'm sure. Just so great job being the example and being the expert. and thank everyone for tuning in. So until we talk again, this is Brett and Melanie saying, don't just be an agent, be the expert. Have a great one.
Thank you.